Frank, 2014, big year ahead for boxing. Would you like to let us know, the plans for Box Nation and Queensberry Boxing?
Box Nation hopefully will go from strength to strength. They're in their third year now of broadcasting. It goes HD I think it's on the 15th of February, the Copper Box show, which features Derek Chisora and Tyson Fury in two separate fights. That will be broadcast in HD. So that's a big plus for the viewers and for the channel, so I'm highly delighted about that. Box Nation will continue to deliver the big shows. It's got some great shows coming up, not just my promotions but other promotions. Got shows from Golden Boy, some top ranked shows. They're also doing some shows with Sauerland from Germany, so there'll be continued live shows from around the world, some of the best from around the world. From my perspective, fights I'm involved with, we've got, as I said, the Copper Box show, which is a big show in London on the 15th of February. Derek Chisora, Tyson Fury, as I mentioned, Frank Buglione is on there. We've got Bradley Skeet in the title fight against the former world champion Vivian Harris. So there's, it's a really good quality show. We've got Tom Stalker making his debut on the show from some really good youngsters coming through. Will also be boxing. We then go to the 22nd of February, and on the 22nd February we've got Tony Conquest heading the York Hall Bill with a cruiserweight, the Commonwealth Cruiserweight Championship against Daniel Aman from Australia. So it's a nice little fight for Tony, and there's some of our youngsters again are boxing on that card. Then we move on to the March show. We've got a good show in March, on the 8th of March up at Aintree at Liverpool, and we've got one of a fighter that I'm really excited about, Paul Butler. He's fighting for the WBO and WBA Intercontinental title against Diego Liorano. We've also got on there Kevin Satchel fighting for the Commonwealth Flyweight Championship against Isaac Quay, and a great undercard up there of local Liverpool fighters. And again, it's exciting times, and I'm looking forward to running shows there on a regular basis. That'll be the first of 4 shows that we'll be doing in the Northwest over the course of 2014. We then go on to the 29th of March, and we're at the Metro Arena in Newcastle, where Dennis Hobson is promoting in association with myself, and we'll see Stewie Horn there defending his title against Martin Ward for the IBF Bantamweight Championship. I'm really looking forward to that fight. I thought Stuart Hall's win last December was a Cinderella story. It was a fabulous fight. It was one of the best fights I thought of the year, and I'm looking forward to him coming out again, fighting up there. Frankie Gavin will be on the undercard. He'll be defending his welterweight title, and also we've got John Lewis Dickinson against Neil Dawson for the British Cruiserweight Championship. So that's a good card featuring some of the best young fighters as well from the northeast. And then we go to April. We've got the 5th of April. We've got the WBA Light Heavyweight Championship as a Sauerland promotion. Jürgen Bremer will defend his title against the former world cruiserweight Enzo Maccarinelli, and I'm really looking forward to that. Enzo has sort of reinvented himself under Gary Lockett. He's stepped down from being a cruiserweight, gone down to the light heavyweight division, and that's a tough call in itself. But he's had quite a few wins over the last year, and hopefully he'll come back with a title. It's a tough call for him going to Bremer's backyard, but I do believe that he's got a good chance of winning the title. And the night before that on Box Nation, we've got Carl Frampton, who'll be fighting against the former 2-time world champion Hugo Cavares for the WBC, which is a WBC eliminator for the title. Carl's one of the most exciting fighters in the country. It's a Barry McGuigan promotion, so that's a really busy weekend for Box Nation and for the British fans. And then we get into the 12th of April, and we've got Billy Joe Saunders back in action after his injury, along with Liam Walsh, who's also injured, and they will be defending their respective titles at the Copper Box. So very busy first quarter, looking forward to it. Plus there'll be a lot of overseas fights in there, as I mentioned. So for the fans, it's a really, really good time to watch the boxing on Box Nation.
Going back to 2 fights that you mentioned, obviously the Enzo Maccarinelli fight, big second chance in effect for Enzo. Is this really his last chance saloon?
Yeah, I do think so. I mean, we use that a lot in boxing, but I really do think so. And I hope he's not beaten. And of course, I know that he fancies the job, and we know he's got the punch to do it. We know that his defence has improved with Gary working on it. Working with Gary Lockett, and he can come back with that title. Bramer's, he's not unbeatable. And if he does do it, it'd be one of the major shocks, I think, of the year, because he's going in as an underdog. Let's be honest about that. But he does have the tools to come back with a title. He is capable of winning it.
Well, we certainly look forward to that one. Something that we've gone over in passing, but that's obviously the whole situation with Tyson Fury and Derek Chisora, two both exciting fighters, both coming to some extent under the Box Nation banner now. We've got to look forward to them both on the next show, but what is the plans after that?
Well, the plans after that is they will fight again, providing they come through their fights on the 15th. They will have a fight again, but the plan is for the both of them to face each other in either early June or the second week of July. That's what the plan is. They have both agreed to the fight happening, and it's just a matter of us getting them there. So after the 15th, we will be able to say exactly what, give people exact details of how that's going to come about. But they both got to win first on the 15th. For me, it's a no-brainer as a fight that the fans want to see. You've got Tyson, who is without a doubt a very, very much improved fighter. Unfortunately, had a lot of bad luck last year. Two fights that he had planned, or twice the fights he had planned with David Haye fell out of bed. I think he's had, was it 21-0 or 22-0, whatever it is, and he's undefeated. He has a win over Derek from a few years ago, and he deserved to win on that night. But I think Derek's a different fighter, as Tyson is a different fighter from when they fought. I think Tyson's very much improved, but Derek's certainly a different fighter now. He's been in with some great opposition over the years, and last year was a fabulous year for him. He had 4 good wins. He looked a different boxer altogether. He's lost a lot of weight. He's controlled his diet. He's shown much more mobility. He's actually shown, and because of that, I think the firepower's there. So I'm looking forward to that clash, because I think that is I think it's going to be an explosion. They both come to fight. Derek doesn't take a backward step, and nor does Tyson. So I think we're going to see there a serious explosion, and I think that's a fight, as I say, that the fans will want to see, and we're looking to do that at West Ham in the early summer.
It's good to see also two British heavyweights both ranked in the top 10 of the world. I mean, I think on the independent rankings, I think Derek's 7 and Fury is 4, so it really should be an eliminator, and we look forward to that happening. But talking about the heavyweight division specifically, where do you see that going?
Well, in one way, it's good that Vitali vacated his WBC title. He's done everything that's been asked of him. What all the fans wanted would never happen, and that's to have a definitive champion, because the two brothers were never going to fight each other, and you can understand why, because they're brothers. So you've always had that sort of a little bit of confusion in the heavyweight division with the Klitschko's, because over the years you always had a definitive champion, whether it be an Ali, a Marciano, a Lennox Lewis, a Larry Holmes. There was always a champion. But for many years now, there's always been the two brothers. And to be honest, I don't think the man in the street knows the difference between Vitali and Vladimir. That's not a criticism of them. It's just a fact of life. But now we've got Vladimir out there, and and the other brother's gone, and Vladimir's obviously the best one out there. The WBC have called a fight for the vacant title, and they've called a series of eliminators, but they've left out any British fighters, and I don't understand why that is, because I look at the records of like Deontay Wilder, who's very exciting, there's no doubt about that. But who's he fought? Derek Chisora's, I'm speaking on Derek Chisora's behalf, he's fought people, and he's fought better class fighters. I mean, Deontay Wilder's next fight is against Malik Scott. Derek beat him last year. What's all that about? He should be fighting Derek Chisora, not the loser. Should be fighting the winner, but we all know why that's happening. And I think at the end of the day, Deontay Wilder is a breath of fresh air for the scene. He's great for American boxing, that we get some American heavyweights back in there, but Is he the real deal? We know he can whack, but can he take it himself? And the one who would definitely test him and would have found out would have been Derek Chisora. But as I say, our two guys have been, with Tyson as well. They've been left out of the picture. So when they do fight, the WBO have intimated that they would allow that fight to be an elimination for their title. So we know what would happen there, and that would put the guys in a good position. Because if we can get them into one spot, and I know Klitschko does have Vladimir has a mandatory due against Lepke, whatever his bloody name is, the Australian guy. After that, the winner of Derek and Tyson would be the #1 spot, and that means that you haven't got to go cap in hand to the Klitschkos. You haven't got to sign away options, take chump change to fight them, which Derek did when he fought them. You can go in there and you got a chance of going to a purse bid and seeing if if we can win the purse bid, or if we don't, at least we go in there, and if Derek wins it or Tyson wins the title, then at least they're free agents as such. So that's what's good about what's happening at the moment. So I'm hoping that the heavyweight division over this next year will really shake up, and we'll get the fights that the fans want to see. Vladimir is a really good quality fighter. There's no doubt about that. But he's a very cautious fighter, very, very cautious. And I like to see him, like I see with his brother, in with fighters who are going to come and fight them. Like, when Derek fought Vitali, he took the fight to him. He actually took the wind out of his sails, gave him a tough fight, and even won the last round. And whereas most people who go to fight the guys, they allow them to use their physical attributes, which is their height, their reach, rather than taking the fight to them. So hopefully we can get one of these fights on this year, and just liven the division up, get the interest back into what should be the blue ribbon weight division.
There's some other great fights have just happened, and some still to happen. But on the weekend we had Golovkin event against Ousmane Adama. What did you think of that?
He did what he had to do, didn't he? I like Golovkin. I like him a lot, and I think he can. Up until his last couple of fights, he showed he could box a bit. But what I've noticed in his last two fights, and maybe he's prepared to take the risk to get to the guys, because he's a heavy-handed guy. He's been caught. He's been seen he can be caught, and that's quite interesting to me. We all know that guys can punch, what they can do. I like to see what their weaknesses are. And the one thing about it, I've noticed in these last couple of fights, he has been caught a couple of times. Although when it's come down to it, he's done the business. He's a super fighter. Don't get me wrong, but it'd be interesting to see as you step up the calibre of the opposition, how he reacts to that.
Also on the weekend we had Buckland Reese. Is that really career over for Reese, do you think?
Listen, he might come back. I don't know, but I like to see where they're going to go beyond that. And in the greatest respect to them, they're not. I don't think they're going to set the world alight, either. But it was a nice little fight. And
just going back to the heavyweights a second, we had Anthony Joshua on the weekend. I mean, how do you think Anthony's shaping up?
I'm a big fan of Anthony's. I've said that from day one. He's a fighter I'd love to have signed. I think he, at this stage of the game, he's doing what you expect him to do. The opposition is what it is, and he'll build up a run of wins. When somebody can actually stand there and fire back, then we're going to see what he's got. Like you'll find out with a lot of fighters that I promote. There's a few guys who've got win records, but we know that the opposition improves. They've got to step up to the plate. So it'll be interesting to see what he can do, or what he's made of when there is somebody who's going to give him some things to think about. But having said that, he's done everything he's been asked of him. I think he looks the part. But I just don't understand why he's not on big shows, big shows, because that's where he should be.
Next big fight for Manny Pacquiao against Bradley.
Yeah, it's a good fight. I mean, Manny Pacquiao's he did what he had to do last time out. He boxed very well. Lost his 2 fights before that. Bradley. Anything can happen in a Manny Pacquiao fight now. It's one of those. Somebody in there is going to stop him. He gets hit. If he gets hit, he may go again. Who knows? I mean, when you get to that stage of your career, and it's happened to him. It's not like it's not like history. History does repeat itself as such. And I think that if Bradley can clip him, he'll go. it should be a good fight. Like, so, you know, I think you don't see many Pacquiao in bad fights, do you? And Bradley's anybody who wants to beat Pacquiao has got to take the fight to him. Have got to push him back. So if he does that, then the fans will be in for a good fight.
Do you think we ever see Pacquiao Mayweather?
If he wins the fight, maybe. I mean, he's got unfortunately, he's got some problems. So you read about on the internet with the tax and so forth, which is really a great shame for him. He needs a big fight. He needs to earn money, and the biggest fight out there is Mayweather. But is it the same fight? It's not, is it? It's not the fight it was a couple of years ago. It's a bit like when Lennox Lewis, all the time, where everybody wanted to see him fight Mike Tyson or fight Riddick Bowe. He never ever fought Riddick Bowe. That fight never happened, and I think the fans were cheated out of that. And then he fought Mike Tyson, but by then Mike Tyson was a shadow of Mike Tyson, and had been a shadow of Mike Tyson, the early days Mike Tyson, for many years. You know, you'd have to make Floyd a big favourite in that fight, or I would anyway.
Just moving ahead, is there one sort of standout fight that you want to see this year?
Well, standout fight I'd like to see it this year. It's, you know, involving my fighters. I actually do want to see, and I know I'm banging on about the same fight. I want to see Chisora and Fury. I just think it's a good fight. I mean, they're the big guys. They're out there. I love seeing fights like that. And I would like to see the winner of that in with Klitschko. They're the fights I want to see. They're the fights the fans want to see. There are a number of fights out there. You know, there's quite a few fights out there I'd like to see domestically. I'd like to see. I would like to see Paul Butler step up and wait and fight Stuart Hall. It's a big fight up north. It's a big fight. Interesting fight. Not the end of the world for the loser. People got this thing about fighter gets beat, it's all over. Well, Manny Pacquiao's proved that's not the case. And I think that, you know, those two young guys, it would be a one young guy and one older guy who took boxing up late, but I think that would be a fabulous fight for the fans. So there's a few of them out there that could be interesting.
Moving ahead to a totally different subject, Europe, the British Boxing Board of Control. It's something that interests the fans. There's both, I suppose, the legal side of it, and there's what's best for the sport. We've had over the last few months, in fact yourselves, you promoted the show originally with Chisora, Hay, which was under Luxembourg. Since then we've had shows under the GBA at York Hall in London. We had a show that was the Board of Control, and then it finished off after the board officials left. It went on to the Maltese Federation, and now we've got some more German shows planned, and I also understand there's some more Maltese shows planned. What do you think is right, and what do you think is best?
Well, you got those, and then you got another layer, which is a lot of unlicensed fights going on. What we say are unlicensed, but in fact they are licensed. You got, I mean, young Ross Mincer promotes shows, and I think there's quite a few guys that do that. Pat Cadell, I believe, runs some shows in the Midlands. So you got all these things, and it's nothing new. These have been going on for, in my time in boxing. You know, and they're not illegal. It's not illegal. And I think it's what's about what is legal, and most importantly, above the legality of it, what is this, you know, making sure that the participants, the boxers' health is the paramount. Is paramount in all of this. That's what has to be taken into consideration. You know, you look at. I mean, I've been a big advocate, so I used to manage him, of Danny Williams not fighting. But he continues to fight, and I don't believe that eventually that's going to catch up on him. I hope I'm wrong, but you know, I look at things like that would be the shame. So all these things are going to happen anyway. But where, you know, if a boxer wants to box for the British title, then it'll be under the British Boxing Board of Control auspices. I don't know if Malta or who is the other one, or GBA. I don't know if they are associated with the various world governing bodies. I have no idea. More importantly, have they got big name fighters? Because at the end of the day, really, that's what it's about. The public want to see the big name fighters. Are these shows going to get any TV coverage? I don't know if they do or they don't, but they don't. They're certainly not on Box Nation. I don't believe they're on Sky, and none of the terrestrial channels cover them. So they are what they are. They're a niche, and I'm sure they're well run, and I'm sure they're medically supervised, and provided that's the case, then that's the world we live in, and they should be allowed to. Regarding the Boxing Board of Control, I think the problem is with the Boxing Board of Control is that they have to step back and wonder why this is happening. There must be a reason for it's happening, and it may be that you know, there's some middle ground to be made up between the disaffected licence holders, or maybe the disaffected licence holders should just go and do their own thing if they feel that it's good business and they're right what they're doing. But from my point of view, it just adds a lot of confusion. And if there's a fatality on any of these shows, they won't say it's British Boxing Board of Control. They won't say it's Malta or GBA or whatever it is. They'll just say boxing. It's like you read in the newspaper, former boxer kills somebody, and you see, who is this guy? And apparently he boxed once in an amateur fight, but he becomes a boxer because it's an easy label, easy tag to add to it. So I think the Boxing Board of Control, there are a lot of problems at the moment they have to face, and they have to make decisions now. And they have to work out what's best for the sport. And it's no good them trying to please everybody, because you can't please everybody. What they have to do is stand strong and govern by rules and regulations. We belong to a club, we either accept the rules of the club or we don't. But then again, the Board of Control have to administrate those rules properly and fairly. As being in my instance, I've got a lot of gripes. I've got gripes with them about allowing boxers to just say, I am ending my contract and I'm walking off without a hearing. I mean, you know, if you work for the Daily Mirror, you can't as a journalist say, I'm going to work for the Sun tomorrow if you've got a contract with the Daily Mirror. If you work for ITV, you can't walk across the road to BBC. There has to be some form of industrial hearing or hearing, and as far as boxing is concerned and licence holders, it's under the board regulations, and they need to deal with that. They're slow at times, they procrastinate over things, they keep saying they're worried about giving decisions and want to do the right thing, but by the time they get to making the decision, it's a year down the road, and that for me is not good enough. So I feel that if the Board of Control need to administrate the sport, they need to show that they are in control of the sport. They need to show that, like the FA does, like the Premiership does, like the Lawn Tennis Association does, like the RFU do, that they are in control of their sport. And they're not doing that at the moment. We had a hearing a couple of weeks ago, which was to hear a hearing to discuss how the hearing should proceed. The other side, the other people, Hearn, the Smith brothers, they didn't even send anybody along to the hearing. Board, you know, sent to all of us saying what they wanted then to happen and a procedure and so forth. So we've adhered to it, but we're still waiting for the date of the hearing. It's been going on now since last September, and that for me is not right, because there's a lot of ambiguity. Everybody will take the side of a boxer, and you understand that, and I can understand that. You know, boxers, but you know, not every boxer is a nice fella, and certainly not every promoter is a nice fella. And if you read some of the stuff that goes up on the internet these days, you know, some of us are with the devil. But the fact of life is, they can't all be right. There are contracts there, and it's very easy to determine what's right and what's wrong, and that's have the hearing and then do something about it. You know, do not let it become a lawless society, because what is happening now, what's filtering down with well, I mean this with the greatest respect, with some of the smaller promoters, and that's not being disrespectful to them, and other disaffected licence holders, they are fighting under other jurisdictions because they're not happy. Now their problems, they may be wrong, they may be right. I don't know what the ins and outs of it is, but at the end of the day, you have to. If you're a governing body, you have to stand up and be counted. They were stood up and be counted over Derek Chisora. They took his licence away. That was their choice. And it was Derek Chisora's choice to go and fight for another governing body. That was allowed. That was not illegal. That's what it was. They didn't suspend him. They took his licence away. And since he's come back, he's been a perfect professional in every way. What I'm trying to get at is that my big problem at the moment in boxing is the British Boxing Board of Control. They need to deal with it. Before I become a British Boxing Board of Control licence holder, I set up the National Boxing Council. And I was about 23, 24 years of age when I did that, and it's quite successful. But I knew it would reach a level, and I was invited to take a licence out by the Boxing Board of Control. But when I set that up, and I'm talking about this was in the 70s, there were a lot of disaffected licence holders who were queuing up. Now, I don't want to go down that road again. It's bad enough we've got 4 or 5 governing bodies throughout the world. We don't want 4 or 5 governing bodies in Britain as well, because everybody will look at the sport and think this is total chaos. And at the moment, it is chaos, and it's become lawless because I don't think they are, the board, as much as they try, and there are some good people on there who want it to work, but as much as they try, they're not getting to grips quickly enough with what the problem is. And what the problem is that boxers going from one promoter to the other promoter thinking they can do this whilst they have contracts, and that cannot be right. It doesn't happen in any other sport, so why should it happen in boxing? And they need to deal with that. I'm not saying I'm right in my disputes, say, with the Smith brothers. I may be wrong, but that's up to the board to have a hearing to determine that, not to just allow things to happen. Let's have a hearing to determine what are the rights and wrongs of it. If I'm wrong, then obviously my contract will be at an end. If I'm right, then it's a different matter. But the only way we're going to find out without having all this crap on the internet is for the Board of Control to step up to the plate and decide.